Hi everyone. We thought we'd do a little thing on the doldrums today. Charlie and Pascal are currently in the midst of the doldrums, fighting their way through there, and I'm here at home. So I thought it might be a nice opportunity to talk a little bit about the doldrums, what conditions they might encounter there, the strategy for getting through them, and a little look at the current situation and how the guys are getting on. So firstly, what are the doldrums? So the doldrums are an area of, I hope you can see my screen here, is an area of low pressure close to the equator, and is officially known as the intertropical convergence zone, because this is where the northeasterly trade winds in the northern hemisphere and the southeasterly trade winds from the southern hemisphere meet. The doldrums move north and south depending on the strength of these trade winds, and can either be wider or narrower depending on the angle of the trade winds. And typically, and what you can see here is the doldrums are narrower in the west of the Atlantic and much wider here in the east of the Atlantic. I think everybody knows that the doldrums are typically known for very light winds. There's also a lot of convection, so you get a lot of clouds, a lot of thunderstorms, and it can be quite a tricky place to sail through because of these. If you get a push from a cloud, it can be very good and very beneficial and help you get through the doldrums. But if you get caught in the wake of one of these clouds, you can spend a long time in light air, and it can take a long time to get through that wake because the weather typically moves. Although it moves east to west in the doldrums, it moves very slowly. So strategy, what are the best strategies for the doldrums? Now, one of the tricky things about the doldrums is the strategy for crossing through the doldrums is typically done when you're much further north, sailing in the northeasterly trade winds. Normally you'd try and pick a lane where you have good winds, or there might be a weather feature like a tropical wave that'll help push you through the doldrums. But in order to pick your longitude for crossing the doldrums, it has to be done up here in the north when you're sailing in the trade winds. I think you can see from this race the whole fleet have been a long way east, so as a result they're now crossing the doldrums a long way to the east. It's also the case that when you get in the doldrums, you want to cross as quickly as possible. You want to get out as fast as possible. You see from the fleet here that once in the doldrums, everyone has been going due south, straight south, battling their way across to try and get to the southeasterly trade winds. One thing is, although if you cross further west, you could get an easier crossing where the doldrums are narrower. That then does affect your angle, and because the fleet are racing here to Fernando de Noronha, a boat crossing further to the east potentially has a better angle in the trade winds, can sail faster than a boat crossing more to the west. So what's the current situation? Well, we can see here Malama with Charlie and Pascal are currently about just north of 8 degrees north, which is very much in the thick of the doldrums. The climatological average for the doldrums this time of year is probably around 6 to 8 degrees north, so they're very much in the thick of it. We can see that, as I mentioned before, the whole fleet is a long way to the east. The doldrums are actually quite wide. We can see the southeasterly trade winds are a bit stronger, but the ones in the north have been quite light. Zoom out a little, we can see this low pressure area has really messed up the trade winds in the northern hemisphere. We can also see that there is this little push of trade winds here to the east, which has kept the fleet a long way to the east, but has also dictated them sailing a more easterly track. If we zoom back in again and take a look at the clouds, we can see this is probably the southern boundary to the doldrums here, this line of cloud, and we can see the leaders linked out. Pivia and Charal have actually now just escaped and should be sailing faster. We can see linked out's doing 16 knots now, and Pivia and Charal are almost 20 knots and 18 knots, so they're sailing fast. So it's actually going to be quite tricky for these guys to catch up, as they've probably got another 200 miles before they get to the better trade winds. But they are positioned more east than Alaka'i Paprec, so and they are moving at the moment. So if they can get out at a similar time, they may have a faster angle. Tough days ahead, maybe another day or so of them fighting through the doldrums, but hopefully there is a bit of flow and a bit of breeze through there, and they can get to the southeasterly trade winds without encountering too many clouds or any light conditions. And then once they're out through the doldrums, then it should be a fast reach down to Fernando de Noronha, which from their easterly position will hopefully suit them for some good sailing and a chance to catch up on the boats in front.